students in the crowd, and welcome semi-chilly morning. So hopefully, well, we're having a lot of rain, so sometimes there's a little bit of connectivity issues with some of the students because of that. But once again, for everybody in the class, welcome to another Demo Friday. And for the people who which watch later this video, as always, a reminder, this video is part of the ongoing LSLP in-session webinar series that is attached to the classes I teach and some of the research we do at LSLP. And today we have like a double feature. It's a double feature Friday. So I'm very delighted that we have a double feature Friday. This video will be coupled with a video coming later that will broadcast in the afternoon. And today's conversation, it's linked to the unit on like the practice, like kind of looking at practice. So we have been talking about lesson planning, classroom management, material design, and I decided that it would be a good idea to have a conversation and an introduction to a concept and an idea people talk about a lot these days, and it has become even more popular or urgent on, I'll let Martha call it however she thinks it's better, but I think it's like a lot of people now are talking about flipped learning. The conversation has been going on for over a decade or at least, but now it's like with the pandemic, now everybody's talking about flipping the classroom, flipping the classroom, flipped learning, flipped learning, this, flipped learning that. And my school of thought is you have to be careful with the terminology. And you have to be careful with the concepts. And I see a lot of people using the word flipped learning very liberally. And as part of my concern for the goals of this class, I thought it would be useful to bring experts who not only have read about it, but are doing it and are doing it well, to share their insights with the class. So that's why we have this morning Professor Martha Ramírez from Universidad de los Andes. We met a few years ago. Just reminding me, we met almost 10 years ago, and with sometimes with my aloofness, I thought it had totally passed up, probably blipped, but then we reconnected a few years later, and we have become good colleagues and friends over the past few years, doing work together, presentations, and sharing insights about education. So I will let Martha tell you more about herself, and she will be sharing with all of you some of her thoughts and her experiences when it comes to flipped learning, flip at the classroom, and some of the work she's been doing that is connected to the idea of flipped learning. So this is the part where I'm going to stop talking. I'll just sit back and relax and let Martha do her thing. So without any further ado, Martha, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. Hi, everyone. I'm really happy to be here today. And well, I will be talking to you about flipped learning. I'm going to share my screen just to give me a second to kind of guide a little bit what it is we're going to be doing today. So I am a teacher at Universidad de los Andes. I have been doing work with flipped learning for about maybe 7 years, could be a little more. I did my research, my master's research on flipping a pronunciation course for English teachers. And since then, I've been doing a lot of work with flipped learning. I actually wrote a book about in-class flip, and it's being edited, so sometime soon it will come out. All right, so we're going to talk about flipped learning, and I would like to start by asking you what it is that you know about flipped learning. Have any of you heard of this concept? Do you have any idea of what this could mean? The response could be no idea, and you can write in the chat. No idea. Okay.
Hi.
Hi.
I have an idea. Well, I don't know. It was something that I used to do when in the place that I worked before, and it was related with it was like a companionship during the class, but at the same way, the students should make some kind of activities outside of the classroom. It is like flip it, something like that. I don't know. That was the way that we managed the flip classroom in the previous job that I had. But I don't know if it is the same for for every educational stages, you know. So that is kind of ideas that I have.
Okay, so yeah, it's connected. Obviously, I don't have the detail now, but what you're saying is connected to
I have,
flipped learning. Yes, go ahead.
sorry, I have another idea different from Paula, I think. Well, maybe flipped learning is kind of um, like a flipped classroom when you can combine technological and some maybe magistral classes at the same time. I don't know. Maybe I'm confusing the idea, but I think that is about flip learning, trying to combine technological resources into the classroom.
Okay, flipped learning could combine technological resources, but not, it doesn't have to. And we'll see that it's a very wide, it's a very, very wide concept. So what we're gonna do is I'm going to give you, let's see if this lets me. I'm going to give you 1 minute and I want you to Google what is flipped learning or flipped learning definition, okay? And I'm putting my timer right here and let's see what you find, but you only have 1 minute. Ready? Here's the minute and, oh. Whenever you find something, just go ahead and open your mic and tell us what it is that you find. This is too blurred. Oh, there you go. 25 seconds. 20. 10 seconds. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All right, our time's up. What did you find about flipped learning?
Something like doing the homework but in the classroom, like something like that, and then read it for home.
Catalina, I'm sorry, can you, I heard you sounded really far. Can you repeat that? It's something like?
Can you hear me now a little better?
Yeah.
That is something like doing the homework inside the classroom as we get and different a different type of work from home, and that's like kind of that's the part that is flipped, as I guess, and it's something like problem solving, like the part of the classroom.
Okay. So the idea that what we're flipping is the homework, right? Traditionally, what we used to teach as homework is being flipped. We're doing it in
Yeah,
class.
like the part of homework and the part of like classroom work. I don't know.
Okay, I get it. All right. Yes. Yes, that's one possibility. Any other definition? Did anybody else find something different?
It's kind of a mix between face-to-face modality and virtual modality, in which they start like the topic in the face-to-face class to engage students, and then they continue it by the virtual class.
That's another possibility. Yes. All right, one more. Did anybody find anything else? Anything that will complement what your classmates have already said? So I assume the silence is a no. All right. Okay, so what are we gonna do? Before I actually tell you what flipped learning is, we're going to do an activity. I'm going to send it to the chat. I'm gonna send you an image to the chat. So please let me know if you can open it. There you go. It was just sent. So just confirm like, okay, we got it.
I can see it.
Okay. All right. If one of you can see it, then it's seeable. All right. So what are we gonna do? You're going to analyze a sketch note that encloses the various definitions that have been provided until today about flipped learning, okay, through a sketch note. So you have the sketch note, that's what I just sent you. And what I want you to do is I want you to, right now, I want you to take a screenshot of this instruction. Take a screenshot or grab your phone and just, take a picture. Because we're going to work, I'm going to put you in groups to do this activity, and I need you to have the instruction. So when you've got that instruction, please put okay in the chat, or just show me with a reaction that you've got the screenshot. Okay, Catalina's got the screenshot. I'm looking at reactions here. Valentina Castaño, ready? All right. And the rest of you, have you got that screenshot? I've only got reactions from Catalina and from Valentina. Elizabeth, have you got it? Okay, Stephanie said yes. Isabella, Bertilena, Valentina Benitez, have you got the screenshot? Okay, got it. Good. Paula, I think you just reconnected or connected, Paula. We're taking a screenshot of what I'm showing on the screen and just confirming that we have the screenshot. Andres, have you got it?
Yes.
All right. Okay. So for this class to flow, I need you to react quickly so we can advance into the activities. All right. So what we're going to do now is I'm going to put you in breakout rooms. And as you can see in the instruction, you have 10 minutes to do an analysis of this sketch note and to answer the question. Okay. So when you come back to the main room, each of the reporters is going to present what is that response, and then we're going to talk a little bit after the analysis, like what it is, what it's not, and I will clarify any doubts that arise during this exercise. So give me a second. Let me. All right, so we're going to do two groups. Okay, two groups of 4, and I'll see you back here in 10 minutes. All right, so welcome back. Let's see what you've got. We had group number 1, which was Catalina, Elizabeth, and Paula. And group number 2, Bertilena and the 2 Valentinas. Who is going to report for group number 1?
I can do it. Can you hear me?
All right. So I'm just going to share my screen so we can kind of reconnect to the instruction while you report. Give me a second. All right, there we go. Okay, Catalina, so what did your group decide would be a good way to define flipped learning
Well,
based on the analysis of this?
So sorry, just that my audio cuts a little bit, so I thought that you stopped talking. So sorry. Well, we just kind of analyzed that it was something like really like based on participation and individual participation, where the teacher only works like as a guide. Like the first thing that comes to my mind, I was talking to my partner. It was like Montessori, but I mean, she mentioned something that is kind of different. It's more like based on content and not the only social skills. But the first thing that comes to my mind was that like the classroom was divided, that they have like a way to work on their own, and the teacher can be like a guide where it can help them and give feedback, but not necessarily they're like given the class and being in the center of the classroom. I don't know if my partners will like that.
Okay, so what you say is correct. That's the role of the teacher. That's what happens with the student, right? Would any of you like to add? What happens with the content? Like, what does it mean that we flip? Because here we're seeing, like you can see, you know, what happens to direct instruction.
I don't know, in that sense, I kind of got it as a common class. That's why we mentioned that in Montessori it's like more, she mentioned it was like more like social skills, and here we can see more like content, like disciplines, and you know, maybe English, like something more based on content.
Okay.
I don't know if that's correct.
All right. Well, I'll clarify the detail after group 2, just to make sure that we're all understanding the key concept, but definitely what you have said is part of flipped learning. Yes. All right. So let's go with group number 2. I'm just putting this a little bigger. So we had Bertilena, Valentina Benitez, and Valentina Castaño. Who's reporting?
And recording?
Reporting. Who's the reporter?
I'm sorry.
It's okay.
And well, we thought that we said that, I mean, we think, I'm sorry, that it's like a very innovative method. I mean, it's like so modern, so appropriated for the kids we have now. And because they use a lot these digital toys and that stuff, and also because of the dynamic and creative thing. I mean, nowadays using the traditional methods is kind of, I don't know, old-fashioned. Now, this idea of like making of the classroom an art or something like that is so interesting, and also is so necessary.
Okay. All right. So that's your insight on what happens with the approach. So let me clarify a little bit, like what does it really mean, right? Okay, so the first thing in the sketch note you're gonna see, or the first thing that you see, let me just take my annotation tool over here a second. All right, so we've got this part right here, right? Which defines flipped learning. So some have said it's a meta strategy, meaning that it's a strategy that you can combine with other strategies. Yes, it's an approach, right? It's not a method. It is not it is not something that has a formula, like a specific way that you can apply it, because it depends on the contexts. So it is how you approach content. Flipped learning is how the decisions that as a teacher I make with content on how I'm going to teach it. And I'll explain what that means, right? Others say it's a framework, or like it's an operating system. So think of your cell phones. And if you have Android or if you have iOS, that's your operating system, right? And then what you do is you add the apps. So if my operating system is flipped learning, then the apps that I add to my class are project-based learning, task-based learning, gamification, inquiry-based learning, et cetera, et cetera. Like as a teacher, I can make this decision of using different methodologies within flipped learning, because flipped learning is only or mainly referring to how I approach that content, right? And we have it as a compassionate teaching methodology. Carolina Rodriguez Buitrago, she put this definition in 2000, or she coined this definition in 2020. This was last year. And so for her, this is a methodology that allows her to connect with students. And it's kind of what the two of you were mentioning. If the teacher is a guide, if the teacher is like the role of the teacher changes, then the teacher is connecting in a different way to the students, because the teacher's not the center anymore, right? So that's in terms of like how we could understand. The official definition is, the official flipped learning definition is this one. Yes, from the Flipped Learning Network. And we'll go a little more in detail in that. What I want you to really, really focus on, and I'm just going to clear over here my drawings, is this. So the direct instruction is what the teacher talks about. The teacher explains content, demonstrates, gives examples, gives instructions, provides experiences, right? Like think of when your teachers are talking, what are they talking about? Or they're explaining, or they're demonstrating, or they're expressing examples, or they're giving you feedback, right? So this is what we can flip. And what happens when we flip is that this content goes into the individual space, which could be the homework. So for example, I'm going to teach the verb to be, and I'm going to flip it. So what I do, what Martha does, is she creates a video about flipped learning and tells her students, please look at this video. I'm moving it to the individual space. You need to check this video about flipped learning. And then when we're in class, we're going to talk about it. And you're going to tell me what doubts you have, etc. So that's one very simple example of what flipping is. It is replacing your direct instruction, whatever it is, content, demonstrations, examples, instructions, etc., with content students could access in their individual space. This could be a video, it could be a reading, it could be a PowerPoint, it could be a podcast, it could be a sketch note, like the one that I'm showing you here. It can be anything that's going to replace that explanation. Is that clear? Please show me your reactions if that's clear. If it's not clear, you can say it's not clear, and that's fine. Clear or not clear?
For me, it's clear.
Okay. Thank you, Paula. All right, I see some reactions there. Good. All right, this is super important because it's not exactly a new approach, but in pandemic, it became very important that the teacher is not the one who is in charge of giving all the content. The teacher designs or is a curator of content, right? It chooses the content, but what matters in reality is, what are we going to do in the class where you can show me that you're understanding instead of you just listening to the teacher explain. All right. So flipped learning has some pillars and indicators. Let's clear this over here. All right. So you see there's pillars and indicators. And so what we're going to do, kind of to wrap up this session, is you're going to play a game about the pillars and the indicators to really become familiarized with what this is about, okay? Again, I am talking to you about flipped learning, so I'm not going to explain to you the pillars. I flipped it with another type of material, which is a game. So let me just show you how this is going to work. And let me send you this to your chat. Okay, I've sent you the link. This is a game that I designed that's on my website, just to make it super easy to access. And so what you're gonna do is I'm gonna put you in groups again, and you can put this full screen. Are you watching can you see the game? All right, thank you. And so what you're gonna do is you have counters, which is the ones that you move to play, right? You choose a color and you roll the die. The die is a video. So one of you has to share your screen. One of you is the gamer, let's say. So one of you share, let's say Catalina is the gamer in her group. So Catalina is in charge of sharing the screen and rolling the die, right? So Catalina, if you're in a group with Elizabeth, so you tell, okay, Elizabeth says, I'm gonna be blue. Catalina, you roll the die, you say, okay, Elizabeth, tell me when to stop. So Elizabeth said, stops. Okay, so Elizabeth got 4, Elizabeth is blue. Catalina, you're the gamer. You're the one in charge of the full game because it's not multiplayer, unfortunately. So Catalina will say, okay, Elizabeth, 1, 2, 3, 4, right? So you've placed it in the position of the number and you're going to click and there's a question that's going to appear. Now, I know you are students. If you have had the opportunity to teach, I want you to reflect as a teacher. Yes, with that experience that you have had, or if you've tutored anyone, I want you to reflect based on that experience. If you haven't, I want you to reflect on your teachers, okay? So if I have not had the opportunity to teach, I'm gonna think of my teachers and say, okay, do my teachers make themselves available for individual, small group, and class feedback? Yes or no? And you're gonna answer the question to your group, okay? When you have answered this question, so we said blue was Elizabeth. Elizabeth has a blue box right here of collectibles. So Elizabeth
your device lost its connection.
Elizabeth, no, Catalina will drag the item, right? Because Elizabeth answered the question. It's not about right or wrong answers. It's about reflecting on the pillars. Notice how each of these colors is a pillar, right? These are the 4 pillars. And here is the document of the pillars. So if Catalina is the gamer, someone else in the group has to click on the pillars and basically compare the information that you're finding in the questions. Here are the pillars of flipped learning, right? So just to make the parallel, Elizabeth answered this question. This question says P1. Over here are the pillars. So someone in the group could be Elizabeth in charge of this document. Elizabeth is going to say, okay, let me see what P1 is. P1 says, I make myself available to all students for da, 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 da. Some of these questions are directly or exactly as the indicator. Some of them are a little different, but this is for you to reflect on what are these pillars that imply flipped learning. Is that clear? All right, I only see responses from Paula, so I'm kind of worried that the rest of you are not there. Can you please write in the chat if this is clear? Thank you, Paula.
Yes, teacher, we are here.
All right, if you don't answer, I don't really know if you are there because I don't see you. So it's important that you answer. All right, so let's get into these breakout rooms. So remember, one of you shares the screen, another one of you clicks on the green button and opens the indicators. This is a game that is intended for you to understand what are these pillars. So of course, you're playing, you're reflecting on the questions, depending on the pillar and the indicator, but you're also learning what are these indicators? What are these pillars? What does it imply to flip or to be a flipped learning, to have, sorry, a flipped learning approach? So let me put you, let's see. Okay. So I'm going to put you in the rooms again. And you're going to have about 15 minutes for this game. I'll be jumping in just to see that everything's okay, to listen to some of your reflections. And if any questions arise, write them down or just keep them in mind when we come back, okay? All right, awesome. Okay, so we had Catalina, Paula, and Valentina Benitez and Valentina Castaño playing the game. So who was the gamer? Who was sharing screen?
Vale,
I was.
Okay, so can you share the screen so we could see what collectibles you got, what type of questions you were answering? Please, thank you.
Here is it.
All right, so you were able to answer each 2 questions, right?
Yep.
All right, and what I can see just by looking at the icons is 3 of you answered professional educator. So questions about the indicator of a professional educator. 2 of you answered learning culture. 1 of you answered flexible environment, and 2 of you answered intentional content. So based on this, this game, obviously it's just kind of initiating in the game because you know, it could last a long time. It has a lot of questions. What can you say about flipped learning? Does this clarify a little bit of the implications of what flipped learning is in terms of pillars? What is a reflection that you had during this game?
Well, for example, we were talking about if we really like develop our classes thinking on our students or in ourselves.
Right. And what were
we
some of these
mentioned
ideas?
also about, you know, being the classroom student centered, and yeah, and a little bit about formative assessment. So in my perception, I think it's something that is more about developing creativity, and it's more like formative and, you know, being focused on what students are learning.
Okay. Yes, definitely. Okay. Anything else from the culture, from the content? So you mentioned formative assessment and you mentioned the student-centered learning. Anything else that kind of came up in that discussion?
Yeah, for example, about this question.
Uh-huh.
We were talking and we really don't do this a lot. Like we try to give them like everything.
Okay. So that, like this, what you're showing right here, I mean, that question is kind of the key to the flipping and the flipping direct instruction, no, that I mentioned previously. Remember, the direct instruction could be when you give instructions, when you give examples, when you give explanations, when you talk about the content, right? So if you're the person who is in charge of giving all this information, then that's not flipping, right? Flipping is how I how I replace it with something else so students could access it on their own. So what I understand from your reflection is that that you have taken, or that you have a current role where you are more the center than the student, yes? Was that the reflection?
And yeah, and it was more like we don't know, or we are not so sure about how to use it with little kids, for example. Because maybe with teenagers or
Okay.
something like that is easier. But for example, one of us has students, 6 years students,
Mhm.
and they don't even know how to use very good platforms or how to read. So it's a bit difficult.
Also, in my
Good.
case, I kind of do something similar, but I think it's something that is wrong, honestly. So I don't know if that's kind of like a thing of the classroom, but I do let them. I mean, I don't let them alone. For example, what I do is that I put them an activity, whatever activity it is, and it's like this kind of activity. Like they have to play it and do it, but they're on their own. And in that time, like I'm alone in there, like waiting for them to end. So I don't know if that's correct or that's similar to something that they do in a direct instruction. I just think that was the name. And yeah.
Okay, so it kind of depends on what. So one thing is, if your students are going to do an activity, right? They're working. That's like, but in reality, it's what they do on their own and accessing content that you would usually be explaining. Yes, that's what makes the flip. So your students could be working in small groups. And for example, you give them the instruction. So let me just, I'm going to stop sharing your screen a second, Catalina. Sorry, Valentina.
Oh, I'm sorry, it was you. I thought it was my internet. I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. It's okay. Just to show you an example. So give me a second. So I'm going to show you an example with what we did today. Yes, just to, my mouse is like disappearing. Okay, here it is. So for example, this first activity that we did is a flipped activity. Who can tell me why? What makes this flipped?
Because you didn't explain what it is, learning, flip classroom, like at the beginning, like you just start making, it's like another one of the things that you made us do, like us to know what it is. So maybe for that.
Exactly. So
Yeah, and you gave us the material.
Exactly. So I create, well, this is a sketchnote that I created. So, but it doesn't have to be something you create. It could be a video from YouTube, another, like you can use other content, right? But this is a sketchnote that I created so that I could explain to you in a flipped way through a sketchnote what flipped learning is and get you really thinking, analyzing, because I could have said, hey, flipped learning is blah, blah, blah. We'd use it like this. We do. So I flipped it. You worked in groups. We came back and then I clarified based on what you were telling me. So I said, okay, I think I need to focus a little more on direct instruction because they haven't mentioned this so much, right? So then I came back and did that like wrapping up to make sure that we understand what the concept is. But this is an example of flipping in the classroom, right? If I would have left this as homework, it would have been flipping outside of class, but we did everything in class. The same with the pillars. So you're playing a game, but the game has questions that are the actual indicators of the pillars. So you're learning what the pillars are and the indicators through a game that has been designed for that purpose. So it's a game with a flipped component as well. Yes. So just to answer the question of like if you with younger kids or with younger children, the thing with younger children is that because they are not autonomous, right? They're learning to be autonomous. Like if you have a 6-year-old, the 6-year-old is not going to be like, oh, wait, let me turn on the computer and do this. No, you have to guide them to do the work. You could flip outside of class, but you need the help of parents. That's like parents have to be allies here. So you can make a video or you can make a sketch note, a drawing, a flashcard. Like I'm going to teach my students, I don't know, the routines. And I want to do this with a song. So I can flip instead of explaining, these are the routines, wake up, get up, blah, I have a song and I send it to the parents and I tell the parents, look, I need you to please play this song for your child. And the song maybe is like acted, right? Like sleeping, wake, whatever. And that's flipping the explanation that I'm not giving now. Yes, that's what I'm flipping. Because I could be telling students in class, look, follow me, wake up, get up, brush your teeth, whatever. But I chose a song with a video that does exactly what I would be doing in class, and I'm assigning it for the house. If you have the parents as allies, it works. If parents are just like, I know, miren a ver, you know, like esa no es mi responsabilidad, then you don't want to flip outside. You want to in-class flip. So you do that in class. And you're probably asking yourself now, like, so if I show a video with an explanation in class, is that flipping? Yes. If you're not explaining it, that's flipping. What comes is everything else. It's not just flipping the content. If you flip the content, that's a flipped classroom. If you flip the content and you take into account the 4 pillars, that's flipped learning. Yes, just flipping the content is flipped classroom.
Okay.
Yeah.
Can I view something else, like, and then I shut up for good?
Yeah, no.
It's just that the thing that kind of scared me, because I like to do that because they're able to do it. For example, if I send an activity, I don't know if you know Wordwall, I don't know. It's like an
Yes.
activity, like an activity from Wordwall, whatever, a Pac-Man one, the one ordering the words, they're able to do it. I can send it to them and they do it. But the thing that kind of scared me out is that I'm a little nervous. So while they're doing it, they are concentrated. It's not that they're ignoring me or anything, but they're concentrated. I can hear the music even sounding in there. But I get kind of nervous when they take too much time because, you know, virtuality, you don't know what I'm doing. So I'm like, so I'm asking them questions. Sometimes they don't answer. I try to give them like a little time. So I don't know if I should worry about that, like about the time that they get to end the activity.
So the thing about flipped learning, one of the benefits is that when you flip, you let students work at their own pace. Yes, you're not making them, you're not like, look, you need to listen to me in these 10 minutes that I'm going to talk. And if you don't get it too bad, no, you're telling students, look, you're accessing the explanation, the content, whatever, and monitoring the process. So the teacher makes decisions along the way because you're not the center anymore. When you're talking, you're focused on you, like your attention is on you and like what's going on with my students. I think they're understanding me, but I'm not sure. Now in virtual settings, it's more complex because if students don't answer, if they don't turn on their camera, like if you're working with younger kids, you can get them to turn, like you can talk to parents, like, please make sure they have their cameras on so I could see what they're doing, right? But when we work with adults or when we work with young adults, as is the case with you, if you don't feel like turning on the camera, we don't really know. If you don't answer, we don't really know, right? So you've probably felt it the other way. It's like if no one's answering, are they there? So that's a little bit what happens with virtuality, but it's normal to feel scared because you're letting go of control. Yes? Traditional teaching is like, I'm in control. Here you're like, I'm not in control. Like giving them the responsibility, go for it, do this. And then I'm guiding to see how I can get them to better understanding of whatever it is that I'm teaching them. Yeah. Valentina, you're welcome. Valentina, that's great question and great intervention. Valentina, I see you have your hand raised.
And it's just, I also have a question about, I mean, what does this, I forget what is this. I know it's not a method, but I forget what is it. This strategy?
What?
The flip learning.
So flip learning could be, so officially the pillars that you saw are from the Flip Learning Network, right? And that document that's in the game is the official definition of flip learning and the pillars. So the official definition of flip learning is that it's a pedagogical approach. The one right here in purple on top, that's the official, right? But other educators have said, so it's an approach, meaning no formula. Like there are these guidelines, which are the pillars and the indicators. Other educators say it's a meta strategy, like it's a strategy combined with other strategies. It's a framework. Think of the frame. It's a framework. So I follow some guidelines, but then I can combine with my own teaching style with other types of methodologies. It's like super open, because if I flip the content, I can do basically anything with my time if the center of the classroom is not me as a teacher anymore. So I can include game-based learning, I can include gamification, I can include task-based learning, I can include project-based learning. Like I could really combine even design thinking. I mean, I can do so many things because the content has been flipped and now I have more time to work with my students. Like that's the beauty of flipping. Yeah.
Oh, right. It's just that we were talking about the grades, and we were like, okay, almost every single assessment is like formative. We don't give a lot of grades. And I even say that in my practices, I have to give to my students 1 grade. And I said, I'm going to put a 5 for almost everyone. And the other one's 4.5. I don't know. It's not like so important to me. And I wanted to know how much important is it for the flipped learning?
So flip learning talks about I think you discussed the question of formative assessment. So the main focus of flipping should be formative and not summative, because what I want is to make sure that you're learning, right? So if it's all about the final exam, well, like, what's the point of centering the learning on you if the only thing I'm going to care about is the final exam and your grade at the end? However, because this is not a formula, flip learning talks about formative assessment, but teachers can do it however they want. And they could combine it with summative. Like it's not like you can't do an exam and it all has to be formative. No, but learning should be formative. So there should be formative assessment throughout the process. How you evaluate depends on your institution. If your institution says we're going to have 3 exams, it's 3 exams. If your institution says you teach this course and then at the end of the course you have to give a final grade, right? But as a teacher, I should focus on formative assessment and see how I convert that into a grade if I need to. Which is like my case at Los Andes. I have checklists and there's a lot of formative assessment going on, but I need to give a grade. Like that's right. So I do process writing. Like we do a lot of formative learning, but in the end I have to give a grade. So my students self-evaluate, they co-evaluate. We do a lot of evaluation strategies to support their learning. But yeah, there's not like, you have to do it this way. No, that's the thing about like it being an approach. It's not, it doesn't say exactly what you have to do, but that's a really good question. Did that clarify for you? Maybe not what you're hoping to hear, but.
Yeah.
Okay.
Totally.
Okay. All right. Okay. All right. So we're done for today's session. I'm going to stop sharing my screen. I hope I have contributed to your understanding of flipped learning. Obviously, this is just like one session, kind of living through the flipped learning vibe. But I do recommend that you go more in depth, that you check that official definition of flipped learning. You can Google flipped learning definition and it's just going to appear, fliplearningnetwork.org, and then you can always have access to that document that you clicked on through the game. So Raul, I think we're all right. Awesome.
Oh,
so I think
no.
we've
I
covered
mean,
the key,
and
info.
Awesome, that's amazing. I really have nothing much to add because I think the idea for today's demo was that to give students some facts, to give students some information about, especially so they really understand what it is. Again, I'm really concerned that people think that they sometimes trivialize flipped learning as, oh, just like watch a couple of videos. Just go to YouTube and watch a couple of videos and now the class is flipped. Like, that is not flipped learning. Flipped learning is not. Yeah, here I have a playlist. I mean, I do have a playlist in this class, and there is a playlist, but the playlist is not the flip learning. It's not. It's like, yeah, watch a couple of, or people just, oh, I made a video, I put a webinar online, and now I don't have to teach. Because that's another big misconception about flip learning, that, oh,
Exactly.
yeah, I just made a couple of videos, I posted them on my Moodle site, or I posted on Brightspace, I posted on Canvas, I put it on Google Classroom, and boom, class is flipped. And like, no, that's because especially with flipped learning, as with learning in general, as we've talked about this class, you have to, I mean, just because you made the video doesn't mean you don't have to update the video. Because then you have a video that was like 10 years ago, and then in the video you look like with short hair and a different pair of glasses, and then you have longer hair or different hair color, and like, okay, you don't look anything like the video you posted. So, and that I think actually makes the makes the process more. It actually takes off the potential of flipping the classroom, and I think that's what we got from today's presentation, from today's demo Friday. So because it's time to start winding it down, because, well, we all have things to do, but of course, I think taking up more of your time would not be fair. I really want to take a moment to appreciate your insights. Thank you for sharing with the students what you're doing in the website, your reflections on this, the sketchbook work that you are constantly putting, and we'll put the video at some point. We're gonna have showed a little bit of your Instagram, so people can actually look at some of your sketch work and how the sketchbook work that you do, it's also connected to teaching, it's also connected to flipped learning. I think with the students who are here today and the ones who will watch this webinar, there are very useful and valuable lessons about what flipping the classroom really should look like and really should be like, and the kind of mindset that flipping the classroom should bring about. That it's not just the gadgets, it's not just the gizmos, it's rethinking the classroom. So with that in mind, I want to express my gratitude for joining us this morning. And
thank you very much for inviting me.
and for everybody, once again, just watch this video, enjoy the lessons you're going to learn from it. And as always, we invite you to take a look at the rest of the webinars that we have in LSLP in sessions. So with that, thank you so much, Martha. To all the students and everybody, have a very good morning, have a great day, and an excellent weekend.
Bye everyone, happy